My name's Guy Adams, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer at DataOps.live. But today I get to play the new Chief Marketing Officer at WidgetCo, and we produce and ship widgets to consumers in a variety of countries. WidgetCo are a huge user of Snowflake, and in particular, we found it incredibly valuable for getting all of our sales and marketing data and allow us to target our customers better. And one of the things we've built in Streamlit is a customer segmentation app that allows us to understand for different demographics how we are being successful in selling, total lifetime value, how things are changing over time. So here, for example, I'm looking at professional and management level people who've got some sort of bachelor's or graduate degree, and understanding this information and this profile allows us to target our customers better. However, we suspect that our targeting would be even more valuable if we could target to different people based on their country of origin. I've confirmed with our supplier that this information is available and being exported into an S3 bucket, but it's not made its way into Snowflake, and it's not making its way into our application. I'm new to WidgetCo, but I've been told all I need to do is create a service request for the data team, and this will be handled efficiently. So I've created my request in Jira here. Let's see what happens.
Hi engineers, my name is Luke, and I'm a DataOps and CloudOps engineer here at DataOps.live. I've been building software for over 10 years now and supporting data engineers building data pipelines and products. Today, the team and I will show you how engineers can use DataOps.live to solve engineering problems. So let's have a quick look at the ticket that Guy has raised for us. And it seems, in summary, we're trying to add region information to our Streamlit application. So he's confirmed that the CSV is available in the S3 bucket, and can we ingest the data, check that it's not null, add it to our customer table for the Streamlit app, and then actually add it into the Streamlit application. Hopefully that looks quite familiar to many of you. So before we get into it, I just want to show you some of the tools we're going to be using today. So let's switch over to DataOps.live. So this is DataOps.live. You can think of DataOps.live as a single source of truth for everything related to Snowflake and the data pipeline. So if we need to update our Snowflake environment, we'll do that through this project. All this configuration is stored as code, and we use Git source control to manage that. So we're currently looking at the main branch, and if I click on this, we can see we've got some other branches as well. We've got a quality assurance and a development branch as well. Each of these branches represents a complete sandboxed environment within Snowflake, and that includes a zero-copy clone of the data. So let's head over to the Snow site UI and have a look at what this looks like in Snowflake. So I'm logged in and I can see my databases, and I've got a production, development, and a quality assurance database. And these line up and match to the branches in our DataOps project. Let's drill into the production database now and have a quick look at the schemas and tables. So we've got our schemas here. We're going to be adding something to the person schema because it's a region information. And we shouldn't have a table in here. No, so we haven't got our region table available to us yet. We haven't ingested it yet. Like I said before, all the objects are managed using configurations as code in the DataOps project. So let's head back to the project and start making some changes. I'm going to do that by going via the ticket. So let's assign it to myself and set it in progress and create a branch. This is just a handy button to give me a sensible branch name. Create branch. Now we're back in the project with our new branch. I can see it's here alongside the other branches from the dropdown. That's our main QA, our branch, and development. So we've got our new branch, but we need to create a brand new sandbox environment for this feature branch. We'll do this by running a DataOps pipeline. I don't actually need to raise a ticket or any kind of copying of data myself. I just run the DataOps pipeline. And I'll do that by heading over to the CI/CD menu, hitting Run Pipeline, selecting our branch from the list, and hitting Run Pipeline. We're now in our pipeline view, and from here we can trace the progress of our data pipeline. There's a top summary section here at the top, and then underneath the stages of our pipeline. As we travel across the pipeline pills, you'll see all the different jobs that our data pipeline is actually doing. I should note that this is just one example of a data pipeline, and every organization will be completely different and have their own pipeline sequence and set of tools. So I'll just draw your attention to this setup Snowflake job. And what this is doing is running our engine that builds and updates whichever target environment matches our current branch. So in this instance, it's actually creating a brand new environment in Snowflake with all of the different Snowflake objects. So I'm going to speed up time a little bit here, and I'll catch up with you when this pipeline is complete. Okay, now that the pipeline is completed, let's have a little look around at some of the results. So as I scroll back through the pipeline here, you'll see loads of tests that we've done on the data. And this is testing all the various different parts of the data as it goes through the pipeline. So testing at ingestion all the way through to transformation and finally the production data. And we actually collate all of those tests. So I'm just going to reload the page now in our tests tab. And that shows all the different tests that we've had in our pipeline. We also had a successful deployment of our Streamlit app, which I'll show you now. So if we scroll back to the deploy apps and open up our Streamlit app logs, I can now open up this deep link to our feature branch version of the Streamlit app. You'll notice that this app looks very similar to the one that Guy put a screenshot of in the ticket, but if I scroll down all the way to the bottom, I can see that it's actually operating against our new feature branch environment. So going back into the Snowsite UI, we can have a look at the databases. Let's minimize these and refresh, and there we go. We've got our new feature branch environment. So let's now make a change to our configuration and add the region table and ingest the data. On our branch, open up the web IDE. This is just an in-browser editor. We're modifying DataOps configuration, Snowflake configuration, and our databases. You'll see some templating at the top here. We're just using that so we don't have to repeat ourselves. We've got our database here in our configuration. Here's our various schemas for the database. So I'm going to minimize these. These should match up to the schemas that we've seen in Snowsite. And here's our person schema. So inside of here, we've got loads of configuration for the schema itself, but then of course the table definitions as well. So these are the various tables that are in the schema. And I'm going to add a new table to the bottom. So we've got our person stuff at the bottom here, phone number type. So I'm just going to add a new table to the bottom. And this will be our state province information. There's the name of our table, and I can add a comment here for our documentation. I need to add some grants so you can access it. And I'll reuse a templating block at the top, some default table grants. And of course, we need to define some columns. So, and rather than you watching me type columns in, I'm just going to copy and paste some columns I've defined earlier. Got ID, code, territory ID, lots of stuff in there. So now we've got enough configuration in this section here to not only build and update the table structure, but actually load the data in as well. That's what this orchestrators bit at the bottom is for. That's going to tell DataOps how to load the data in. Let's commit this change and run a new pipeline. And then if we head over to this window here, we can see our pipeline starting to run, and I can open this in a new tab. And let's see this pipeline go. Okay, now the pipeline's complete. Let's look at the changes into the Snowsite UI. So back over to here, and I should be able to refresh our data here and have a look in person and tables. And there's our state province table that we added to our configuration. Cool. So it's now ready for Alexandra to carry on and transform this data. So head back to the ticket and add a comment here.
Hello everyone, my name is Alexandra and I work as a DataOps and CloudOps engineer here at DataOps.live. Before joining DataOps, I've worked as a data engineer on various different projects. I've built many data platforms and even more data pipelines, and that is something that I really enjoy doing actually, which is bringing data closer to the end users. As you already know, we are currently working on a customer segmentation application, and I have just been notified that we have some new data ingested into our Snowflake database. So my task now would be to push that data up to the presentation layer. So to do that, I'm going to first open our project into the DataOps platform. And this should look familiar by now, as you've already seen Luke doing his magic into the web IDE, which is a really cool place if you want to do some small changes or quick fixes. But whenever I need to write a lot of code, I do prefer to have a better developer experience. So that's why I've decided to use the Git bot today. So I have it open here already, my Git bot, and I have my workspace already set up. And as you can see, it looks quite similar to any IDE that you might be using. And since the platform is fully Git-based, you can actually clone your project on your local machine and use some of your local IDs. Here at DataOps, we are huge fans of the dbt approach, and we have our modeling and transformation engine based on our own enhanced version of dbt. As I said, we already have some new data ingested into our Snowflake database, and now we need to do some data modeling and data transformations and data quality checks to make it more useful for the business. And to do that, we are going to use our dbt integration, of course. So all the dbt related stuff are placed here into the DataOps directory, into the modeling subdirectory. And the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to add the new source into the person directory. And that source will be state province, which, if you remember, is the same as the new table that we have ingested in Snowflake. So I'm going to create a YAML configuration for this source, and I'm just gonna copy paste some of that configuration just to save us some time. But here we are defining our source and doing some data quality checks on that source. And once we have it defined here in sources, we can then reference it in our models. So for that, I'm going to create a new model as well, which I'm going to place it here in the person directory. And now I'm going to add the SQL definition of our model. And once I have it defined here, I can run it very easily by clicking the Run dbt model of our plugin. Okay, it seems like I have some error. Okay, yes, I do have a typo here. So I'm gonna fix that and then run it again. And now it looks like we have our model running successfully. So I'm going to add another YAML file for this model. Where I'm actually going to add some YAML configuration for the model, where I'm going to add some tests and some quality checks of the data. So let me first start by adding these two tests for the state province ID column. So I have it here, and if I select our model and then I go to our dbt plugin, we can see the tests that I've added here, and we can run them just by clicking this button. Okay, seems like our tests have run, but I do want to add a few more tests for the other columns as well. So I'm just gonna paste this code here where I've added tests for all of the columns of the model. And if I select our model, then the new tests will be loaded right away, and I can run them again. Cool. So our tests have passed, and That's great. But now I do want to update some of our other models as well. I want to update a couple of models here in our star schema. I'm going to start by updating the view individual customer. And I'm going to add one more field here, the state province name, and I will also add the country region name. And on top of that, I also want to add 2 new inner joins. Right here. A really nice autocomplete here, so I can find my source very easily. Okay, that looks good. I also do want to add one additional join. And let's run this model now. Great, the model ran successfully, and I'm going to make one more update here in our dim customer model. I'm adding 2 additional fields here. And one more join. At the end. That looks okay to me. Let's run the model. So before I publish my changes, I do want to check whether I've possibly broken something into the first model that I've added. So I'm going to select that one again. And I'm going to open the DBT plugin and run the test one more time just to make sure that everything's as expected. Okay, everything looks good. And there is one more thing that I wanted to show you. So I did check that my model ran, but I still want to have some preview of my data just to make sure that everything looks as it should. And for that, I can execute my model with a preview by clicking this button. And yes, here you can have a preview of a fraction of the data that you have in your database. So everything seems that it's working and everything looks good to me. So now I am ready to publish my changes and push them forward to the presentation layer. Okay, everything looks good. I am going to add my commit message now. I'm going to use the same branch that Luke used because that's where our feature environment is. Now that we've published our changes, we want to make sure that they made it all the way through the repo, through our project in the DataOps platform. So I'm going to open my branch and check whether the changes made it. And it looks like they did. So the next step now would be to run a pipeline and basically run the changes that I've just made into the actual environment. For that, I'll just select my branch and run the full CI pipeline. one thing that I personally like about the DataOps platform is the actual feature environment. As I said, I've worked as a data engineer and I've built many data pipelines, but I always had to struggle setting up my development environment and keeping it up to date with the production environment. I had to take care of keeping it up to date, maintaining it, and also talk to our DevOps engineers because they were the ones that were actually taking care of the infrastructure. It was just a very time-consuming process, and being able to do that just by running a single pipeline and waiting for a few minutes is just life-changing for me. So it seems like our pipeline has finished, except this one last stage, which is actually a manual action to clean up the whole feature environment, but we don't want to do that yet. But what I do want to show you, though, is the documentation here in the reports, modeling and transformation, where we have a really nice data lineage graph that shows the whole structure of your data. You can find all of your data sources and data models and data transformations here in this data lineage. And depending on the quantity of data that you have, this can get quite big, as you can see. You can zoom in and zoom out, but you can also filter depending on your data models. So I'm going to filter by person, and that is going to show me all of my models that are related to person. And if I add plus as a suffix and a prefix and refresh the data lineage graph, I'll get the whole data lineage basically of my data. As you can see, here is the state province data source that we've added. And if you click on it, if you select it, it will show you the whole lineage, which means the whole flow of the data. So we have the data source that is referenced in the person state province model, which then is used later on in the star schema transformations, the view individual customer and the dim customer. And by checking this, I can see that now the data has been transformed and is in the format which is more helpful for the business. And as such, it can be used further on in the flow. So I'm going to inform my colleagues now that I have finished with the data modeling and data quality checks and that the data can now be used in the Streamlit application.
Hi everyone, my name is Abhinav and I'm a DataOps and CloudOps engineer at DataOps.live. So far, my colleagues demonstrated how easy it is to create new environment, load data, and transform the said data all using DataOps.live. With the prerequisites completed, I'll start making changes to the Streamlit app. As my changes are small, I don't want to wait for the whole pipeline to complete just to find out my one-line change had a typo in it. I also work on a lot of projects, so I don't want the hassle of maintaining dev environments for all of those. So to get around this problem, I'm going to use the private preview of DataOps Kitbot integration. With just one click, I can load everything into a cloud-based IDE with all the bells and whistles already attached. This is our Streamlit app. As you can see, we have replaced some credentials and environment variables with Jinja. The value for this would be loaded when we run the app either in Gitbot or in a pipeline. Now I'm going to start a local preview for the app. I've duplicated the code to fetch the list of income brackets and replaced it with a list of countries. But I'm not doing anything with the code result. So let's add a multi-select code for that as well. Now the app is updated to show the new facets to the user. But It's not doing anything with the actual data queries. So let's make changes to add that. And it looks like I have an error. So let's fix that and reload again. It looks like the required changes are done. And with that, we are good to go. Let's push those changes and run a pipeline. This is a neat trick to tell DataOps to trigger a pipeline for me. And we can see a new pipeline was started. My pipeline was completed, so let's check out the app. This is the custom or the modified app that has been deployed. Let's see if the filters are working. And yeah, it looks like requested changes has been made. Let's raise a merge request into integration branch. To wrap up the task, I'll notify Luke about the MR.
Hi again, and thanks Abhinav. All the changes are ready to be merged in, so let's head over to the merge request, and I can see it's being merged into dev, so let's approve that and merge. Cool. Now those changes are in our development branch, and what I've got to do now is raise a new merge request from dev into QA. We'd like some quality assurance checks on this. Now at this stage, usually we'd have some sort of validation, but for the sake of the demo, I'm going to speed it up and hit merge. Cool. And then I'm going to create a new merge request from QA into main. And of course, we'd usually get testing done here by our stakeholder, but for this demo, again, I will just continue. Excellent. So our production pipeline runs regularly on a schedule, and now the QA is merged into main. On the next run, those changes that we've made will be picked up and deployed. And that's it, I'm done. So we'll just update the ticket and sign off. Hopefully what you've seen here today is how DataOps.live offers a complete end-to-end platform to orchestrate, develop, test, observe, and deploy data and applications to Snowflake. It really is a single unifying developer experience where engineers can very quickly develop and iterate and test before merging and going through that standard promotion and deployment process for data pipelines. We've got a couple of things for you today. We've got our 14-day free trial that you can check out online. And if this is the first time you've even heard of DataOps, we've got our DataOps for Dummies ebook to kind of take you through the fundamentals. And thanks for watching.
And what shall be the necessary rights?
Life! Liberty! The pursuit of happiness!
And data!
Data governance with Snowflake should be a necessary right.